Hello YouTube, welcome to another video on the PCGamesN YouTube channel. It is Ben here, joined by Ben.
Hello.
That's Barrett and Maxwell, just in case you're unaware, not just me and, I don't know, about 5
Yourself?
years?
Yeah. Well, we can work it.
I'd be very happy with this in 5 years. There'll be a lot of weight loss. Anyway, we're here to talk to you a little bit about Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. Got there, worked it out.
Perfect.
Which is coming from the same guys who made the first game and also made the Old Blood.
Machine Games.
All of it was very good.
Extremely good.
Yeah, we're both. Yeah. I think you're a pretty big fan of it, right?
I am. I didn't play the Old Blood, but I was a very big fan of the main game. Absolutely.
In my opinion, the Old Blood is worse. Anyway, we're here to tell you a little bit about Wolfenstein 2. Ben has gone and played it for the second time. He's just that special, and it was pretty good, right? You played the submarine mission from the first demo, as well as a little bit more.
Yep. So the submarine is going to be the new sort of base of operations, but you start the game as BJ in a wheelchair, weak and rolling around and shooting Nazis. And then in the second mission, we got to go to Roswell and Dallas, in fact. So I was wandering around, kind of like a town fair, but a Nazi-themed one with lots of soldiers marching through the streets.
And if I remember rightly from some of the trailers, a few ghost costume wearers.
Yes, so there's a couple of people dressed as ghosts being
coincidentally
congratulated on their outfit and attitude by one of the Nazi commanders.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Is it's gonna cross some lines. I think, you know, it's a Nazi-focused, taken over America during the '60s.
Yep.
An extremely tense time for everyone involved, and it doesn't seem like they're pulling any punches. And you kind of got to walk through the city peacefully for a little bit before you got to the killing. What was that like? Well,
so this is an interesting bit because it's a large section of just exploration rather than any kind of shooting, and that seems to be possibly a theme that's going to follow. There's going to be a little more chance to wander around. So I
forgot how much of it there was in the first game until I replayed it quite recently.
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
But it seems like they're going to add to that.
Absolutely. So there's loads of NPCs to chat to. Well, I mean, you know, they give you a feature line when you go over.
Yeah, it's not like you go and have a Fallout conversation.
No. Although mentioning Fallout, it does all look a lot like Fallout because of this kind of '60s Americana futuristic thing. There are drones flying through the air and everything, but it's got its own flavour. You know, aided by swastikas.
Yes, yeah, lots of red and black.
But it was nice. It was a really atmospheric balloons affair going on. Lots of little routes to kind of explore and loads of fawning Americans, you know, trying to endear themselves to the new regime in a kind of sickening but funny way. So if it can keep that balance, that line, I think it'll be really nicely done.
It's an incredibly thin line. I would be very surprised if it comes out and nobody's got a problem with it.
Germany might.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it does need a little bit of censorship over there. They talked about that during E3, but you know, they don't have to change the plot or anything.
No.
So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how far they go, because that'll be a line they're thinking about themselves. Now, as you continued that, it kind of comes to a climax, right?
Yes. So I mean, this is an example maybe of coming up to that line, because when so your mission is to meet this guy called Spesh, who is has a hideout underneath his diner in Dallas. Now, while you're in there, you're dressed as a fireman, by the way.
Okay.
That's your disguise, because there's giant posters of you everywhere. You know,
I see. Right, yeah, it's going, please get this poor guy that killed our boss.
Yeah, and you have a fire extinguisher, but the fire extinguisher is a nuclear bomb.
Obviously, yeah.
A portable nuclear bomb, as it's called. So yeah, you're in there. There's a mother and a child in there, and so you're just playing it cool until they leave. But then a commandant comes in, orders a strawberry milkshake, and then starts being a git, a horrible
a really nasty piece of work.
Yeah, it's terrible. I've written a piece on the site about the experience, but it's a really incredibly well done. If you remember the coffee scene in The New Order with on the train, that sense of terror and pressure and being toyed with, it's the same thing, but they've really dialed it up. And this guy is perhaps even nastier in the way he interacts with you and enjoys the power that he has.
Because you're saying he doesn't realise who you are, because obviously if he did,
not at first,
he'd probably shoot you in the face immediately.
Yeah.
But he's just doing this to you because he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Not because he thinks you're a war
just
criminal.
He can.
Yeah, which is fairly interesting. Are you worried that that's very similar to the coffee sin, right? Like you were saying.
Yep.
And there are certain bits of it that do seem like they're very similar to elements that from the first game. And part of why the first game impressed so much is because it was based on this, really stupid shooter from like 1992, and it had all this depth to it and all these new ideas. Are you worried they're going to try and go, okay, well, we need a coffee scene and we need some really sad bits and, we need the massive difference between the Nazis you're shooting and your internal monologue?
Sure.
Are you worried that they're not going to be able to add on top of that? Or do you think even more what you've seen, do you think they succeeded?
Yeah, I'm not worried. I think there's probably something that will happen. I don't think they'll be trying to replicate the beats of the first game so much, but we do know that there's going to be many more cutscenes, well, many more hours of cutscenes. They've really put some money into actors and the duration of things, so we're going to see a lot of that. I think the scene in the diner felt distinct to the coffee scene, while it had kind of thematic similarities and that kind of sense of being trapped, because the open door is just behind him, and you're thinking, oh, I can't really make a dash for it. It feels like perhaps it's a more polished take on that thing. You can feel the difference.
Okay, so diner. Presumably, at some point after this, you get to start shooting people.
Not straight away.
Right. Okay.
So after that, you have to go down into a secret tunnel under the ground, which takes you to an underground railway base. Kind of lost my geography on that, but that's somewhere under the town. Sure. And they're loading in these big boosters, which I thought was cargo, but actually is the way the train is propelled to get to Roswell more quickly. Okay.
That's nice. It's a rocket train.
Yeah. So you have to do a little. You have to wander in. You can go by stealth or by not stealth.
Loud or unloud, yes.
Yeah. Now I tried stealth, and I added. You can add upgrades to your weapon, so I added a silencer. Took a pot shot at the first guy. Okay. His helmet prevented that from being effective, and then I went not stealth thereafter. Okay, but that was fine because I'm also wearing power armor.
Right, now that is new. That's completely
new. Yeah, so it was in the first game, but you didn't get to try it on.
Yeah.
And that really feels interesting because you can run incredibly fast. You can fall huge distances. I found myself being drawn into. You're not invincible by any stretch of the imagination, but you just sort of become this. You feel a bit like a one-man army if you're playing it well enough. You're rushing at the enemies. You're doing sort of takedowns even though they know you're there.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of other enemies as well, like robot enemies and some really big, beefy guys.
Sure.
We'll talk about them in a minute. But then, so the goal is to get to the controls, get the rockets on, and then get into the train. And obviously the same thing with the commanders and reinforcements. So if you don't go stealth, they're bringing in people all the time. So you want to go and kill that guy to stop it. But this is just a small bit. And then on the train, there's a whole section on the train as well. And obviously by this point we are shooting people a lot.
quite a lot of people being shot.
Yeah. I mean, you get a second chance to engage in stealth, so if you want to sneak through the train, you can.
Sounds like about the same ratio as because there is actually quite a lot of stealth opportunity in the first game, but then eventually it goes, no, you've been spotted, it's time to dual wield some machine guns for a little while.
And the dual wielding is back as well. Now you can dual wield two different guns weapons, and make combos. It's a lot of fun having a big shotgun and your machine gun and just letting them both go and everything. It just feels like an earthquake every time you pull the trigger, which is a really nice feeling.
Yeah, that's a good place to be at, right?
Definitely. There's also a new, a couple of new weapons, but the key one, again, we've got a piece on the site and we've done another video about these, but just to bring this up, there's a sort of almost a BFG equivalent, if a little more unwieldy, which is, if you saw the trailers or have seen the first level, there's Sets created these I don't know what they are, sort of some kind of microwave field that pops Nazis.
Oh, I see, yes, I remember seeing it,
Yeah, so this is a gun that focuses that technology, and if you're in a corridor with a bunch of enemies, oh my goodness, it's so satisfying. It takes a couple of seconds to wind up before the laser comes out, but when it hits them, they just burst into this amazing sort of particle shower, really colourful. You just want classical music to start playing as it's happening, and they're all just popping. Like the end of Kingsmen, spoiler alert.
Oh, right.
That's not really a spoiler alert, it's just there's a thing that happens.
That's the worst bit of Kingsmen anyway. Yes, okay, yeah,
I like that bit.
I understand.
But yeah, it's a really nice feeling. It's a very short-lived weapon though, there's not much ammo, and I couldn't find much to top it.
It's kind of a one, like have a bit of fun with this, but then you need to go back to the real game, because otherwise it'd be rather overpowered. So you're heading to Area 52.
Yes.
You're in this super suit. What's the plan while you're there?
So in Area 52, it feels very much like the underground train base at first, and the plan is kill everyone.
Right. Okay.
And make your way to the point that you can detonate the bomb.
The nuclear bomb.
I mean, at this point, it's just more combat, more. You can stealth your way through. I didn't, again, but I mean that's testament to the kind of the sense of fun you get from using the suit, which feels. I mean, obviously there's lots of fast-paced, heavy action in the first game, but this one seems to be encouraging it more, which is lovely.
Yeah. How did the levels feel? Versus other games you've played since, and versus the original Wolfenstein, if you can remember.
I mean, I wasn't. What I saw of the base, I wasn't particularly inspired by massively. It was all right. Yeah, it was a futuristic base.
I mean, it's presumably fairly early on in the plot, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know where this pops in, but I mean, actually, I was more excited by the section of the American town. That was a lot of fun.
Because that sounds like it really had a lot of. Because even in the bits where you got to do a little bit of wandering around in the first game, it was kind of like one very large corridor with maybe one side room, not like a road with a town around it, which is what that looked like in the trailer, certainly. Yeah,
it's really nice. I mean, both the submarine and the base are fine. They didn't really have a lot of places that really stuck in my mind, but the combat within that space is still a lot of fun. Sure. So yeah, I'm not saying they're bad.
Yeah, it's just not brilliant.
Not the most memorable levels I've been in.
Yeah. Did any plot stuff stand out to you? I know there's the one with the axe, as I know her, from the trailer.
Sigrun, who is Frau Engel's daughter,
right?
Who is put upon, as you might imagine, from such a horrible character.
Frau Engel's the hero of the story, as far as that's going way too far.
You really want that out on YouTube?
Right. Ignore that I said that. So her daughter.
Her daughter, your second favourite character. So yeah, she's slightly overweight and is berated for this, and clearly doesn't have the same appetite for nastiness that her family and colleagues do. At the end of the submarine level, we're left with her being egged on in an awful scene to chop someone's head off. But in this, before the second level, in the cutscene in the submarine, now that's become your base again, she is on your side. Right. So that's interesting. Although Grace, who's the new sort of ringleader, she's not happy about it and thinks she's Nazi scum still. BJ's a little more sympathetic and, trying to integrate.
Famously sympathetic with Nazis, BJ Blazkowicz.
Yeah, which, I mean, if he's not killed her, then that says a lot for her potential.
That puts her way above anybody else.
But all of the characters are a lot of fun, genuinely funny lines, with pathos though. It's not just a giggle throughout. So yeah, I think the first game did a really good job of that, of mixing genuinely upsetting stuff with a little bit of fun.
Yeah, it was actually. I forgot how funny it was because I remembered all the bits where weird stuff was happening and BJ was being very sad about it all. Yeah. But I forgot that there was quite a lot of humour in it, particularly when you go to the moon and that sort of thing.
Where's the signal? Markovich, can you hear me? What's your status?
Well, I'm on the motherfucking moon.
And now we have LSD as well. Wyatt has all sorts of hallucinations that are going on. It seems a little.
That's going to be good.
Yeah, he's enthusiastic but distracted.
So, one final question, I suppose. Did you see anything of the alternate timeline stuff? Because they said it's going to go by your choice in the first game. Presumably, you need to start it, make it when you start the game up again.
Yeah.
Did you see any evidence of what might change between the two?
No.
No, not at all.
No, but that just might be.
That stuff. I mean, that is stuff they will keep under wraps if they want to, basically.
Possibly, or it could just be me missing it.
Probably not. So you're impressed so far?
Very impressed. Okay. Yeah, I'm very excited to play more. It felt good. I went home that night, played some Siege, and was having a lot of fun. But found myself wishing that I could play a little bit more Wolfenstein. Which is always a great sign.
Okay, well there you go. Great sign, as it were. Please do take a look at the channel if you want to see more. We're going to do a video about the 5 kind of coolest guns that you saw, right?
Yep.
And there'll be loads more on the site as well. A full write-up and all the rest of it if you want to see more details. Please do subscribe for more if you enjoyed the video, and hit like if you particularly enjoyed this one. We'll see you for much more Wolfenstein 2 content in the near future.